negatives that are pretty apparent as we are starting to work our way around. You'll start to see some things. So there's the stacks, and then let's take a look at the dock. Now, the dock, this isn't really, to me, this isn't something that shows Apple's hand that they're working on something, but it is very touch friendly and it can be adjusted. So let's take a look at this. I'm going to go up here to the system preferences and go to dock preferences, and we can make the dock right up here. We can make the size of the dock smaller or bigger to accommodate for whether you start to add a lot of things. I tend to throw a lot of things in the dock. But what this does is it makes it also very nice to make it bigger to accommodate touch. You can tell, if I made it that small, then that means it's kind of hard, to get your finger down there. But the bigger that I make it, the more touch friendly that it is. Alright, so that's a nice little thing. That to me doesn't show that they're showing their hand. That's been a feature in there for as long as I've been using a Mac. I don't remember how long they've been using the dock that gets size and things like that. Alright, so that's a quick look at the dock and stacks. Now let's take a look at the gallery, the cover flow. I'm going to go into pictures here and go to show finder. Now let's right here, I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little bit so you can see this. And we'll angle this. You might need to adjust the camera just a little bit so you can start to see what I'm doing here. Alright, so now we're in the Finder window, and we have some icons here to sort. Okay, very similar to Vista. I can look at things in a thumbnail view. I can look at them in a list view. We have a column view, which I've already showed you. Then we have what's called the cover flow. Okay, now to really appreciate this cover flow, let me first run through a little demo of it, and then I'm going to show this to you on an iPhone. Okay, so here's the cover flow, and to work your way through this, you move this dialog and you get to see things. Looks very similar to a Windows Flip 3D that you do a Start tab in order to see all your open applications. But this gives you a cover flow look at some things. So just imagine that this is your finger and you're flicking that. And you're just flicking it, and then you want to open up something, then you tap it. So the support for gestures, like there is in the iPhone, could be used here. So you find what you want, and then you tap it. So I scroll back here. Yep, I want to look at that. And then it opens up in a preview. Of course, now with the mouse, I can click. I can go back here. You just need to follow my mouse here. I can take my mouse and go back here and click on the TechSmith one, and it comes up. Or I can click on the Gotta Be Mobile logo, and there it is. So also imagine that you have your finger and you want to tap the TechSmith logo in the back, and it pops up. Okay, now I'm not just making something up to saying, that would be neat as a flip application. I'm going to see if I can demo this for you on my iPhone. Alright, now I have got, I'm going to bring up the iPod. Okay, now we are in the album's view. Okay, this would be very similar to the cover flow. Now I'm going to rotate the phone. Okay, so now we have album covers. Now watch what I'm doing with my hand. Just like what I talked about in the cover flow on Leopard, and I can move slowly back and forth. There's the Gotta Be Mobile podcast, and I can tap it and let me select what I want to listen to, or go back. Okay, or I can listen to Gloria Stefan that I got free in Starbucks. Okay, so I'm not making something up about this. I'm not trying to read something into cover flow that really isn't there. This is built in the same way that the album cover flow is on the iPhone and in the iPod Touch. Alright, so that's a quick look at the cover flow. Again, that to me is one thing that shows their hand, or at least that they're starting to tie, experiences together. Alright, so now here's another thing that is a nice touch enhancement. Doesn't show their hand, but it does show that this would be a good touch enhancement. Okay, now I'm going to click on what's called the dashboard, and these are basically gadgets. And I'm going to zoom out here a little bit and readjust the camera so you can start to see this better. Okay, so these are gadgets similar to gadgets in the, these are widgets. Gadgets, widgets, whatever. Anyway, these are very similar to the Vista sidebar gadgets. And basically these are things that you can launch, quick launch stuff. So either pressing, I believe it's F12, yeah, F12 will bring up the dashboard, or you can come down here and press an icon, or you can also go into System Preferences, go into Expose, and set we can set a corner. If I touch a corner of the screen down here, or any of these upper left and right, bottom left and right areas, to also display the dashboard, which I'll do. Okay, so now let's pretend that I've got the screen flipped around, and I want to launch the dashboard, and I've got the dock is hidden. Well, I could take my finger and tap down here in the corner and launch the dashboard, and quickly use the calculator and do something, or just look at calendars or other widgets that we might have in here. And there's a number of widgets, and you see this little plus sign down here. You can see how good size that is. That's a good size for touch. And we can add more widgets. So we could add Google widgets and flight car widgets and all that stuff. Okay. Again, nothing that to me isn't showing their hand, but those are some things that are very good touch experiences. So I could take my finger down here and just touch down here in the corner, and that would be activated in order to bring up the dashboard. Now let's take a look at some of the challenges with Leopard being touch. The first thing that has always stood out to me are these windows. Okay, now I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit so you can start to see what I'm talking about here. Then I'll readjust the camera as I go along. Okay. Now, these these three buttons up here are your that closes a window. Let's see, I'm going to turn. There you go. That closes a window. The orange one will minimize a window, just like that. And the plus should maximize a window. All that it does, if you think back to a Windows environment, I'm going to resize this so you can see it.